Welcome back to the podcast. This is part 2 of a money conversation. If you're new here, Matt came on the show when we were in Mexico with pina coladas in hand, and we talked about money stuff. And we got a lot of feedback. The people like you. The people want to see more of you.
I doubt that.
No, people requested that you come on.
I don't think so.
All that to say, and all jokes aside, today's a little bit more serious. We're going to talk about money and how to talk about it as a couple. Specifically, if one of you owns a business and one of you really likes numbers and gamifying things, and we're just going to share our honest experience with finances, some things that have worked for us, some things we figured out along the way, and some things we royally screwed up in the beginning. So that's the intention of the episode. Matt Larsen, my husband, my electrical engineer, my money nerd, and my weird guy. Welcome to the show.
Double weird. 2 weirds. You're welcome. To me also, or you, or whatever.
Can you explain your relationship with money, like now and how you got here?
Fragile.
What do you mean?
I was going to use the word tenuous, but I don't think that's right. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just numbers on a screen or bills that you stack up or whatever, but I wasted a lot of time going back to school, and in the world where compounding interest is your friend or your biggest enemy, it would have been... I wonder what it would look like, my relationship with it now, had I utilized all that time to have it work in my favor, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think a couple things contributed to why we talk about money a lot. We do a monthly money date, and we're going to share more about that in a bit. But money is something that came from a place of necessity for us to figure out, because I shifted careers pretty significantly, I would say twice for sure. And that changed our financial situation. And then you going back to school and then coming out of that, seeing where all your friends were at and being like, well, crap, I got some work to do. And I think that was part of it. And then ultimately, we both have really big goals and dreams as a family of what we want to do. And we realize we need kind of like a plan to get there. And so finances is something that we as a couple talk about a lot, actually. And hopefully you actually find some value out of this episode. But that's my vantage point of why we talk about it the way we do and we tackle it as frequently as we do. But I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I like to talk about it once a month at least, which is what you said we're about to get into. But beginning or end of every month, however it works for you, or whatever day in between, just as a way to make sure you're on the right track and that you're moving in the right direction. Kind of gamify, like you said, gamify it and make sure that it's going in the right direction the whole way.
In the up direction.
Yeah.
Because we individually, I think we're working on this a lot. And for those that don't know, we've been together for 11 years.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Give or take 10 years.
We've been together for a long time. And I think individually we had goals. But one thing that changed a lot in getting married was combining our goals too. And I actually have really enjoyed that part of it. But for me, money stuff, being a business owner, I have to know what's going on with my finances. I have goals professionally I want to achieve, and personally I want to achieve, and I know certain things that have to happen and change in my business to get there. But for you, what were some of your first financial goals when you finished your second degree?
Get out of the red.
Yeah.
Because the student loan debt is a lot, and that can weigh on you. And my goal was to get out of the high interest student loan debt at least as fast as I possibly could. And then, just use my income to work for me, and then find out, once I eliminate high interest debt, where to put money to where it starts to grow slightly, but positively in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think you said something earlier, you said gamify. I would not say that I gamify finances. I look at things from like a cash flow perspective, how much is coming in, how much is going out, how far away am I from those financial goals. But you really take a lot of financial stuff to the next level, whether that's investing things that you do or things that you research. What is interesting about finance to you? Why do you do that? Because I think you choose to do those things. Not everyone chooses to spend their time learning those things and playing in the market in the way that you do.
Well, I think people overcomplicate things on purpose, and the finance industry makes it more complex than it should be by using big words as a way to scare people away from it.
Yeah, I agree.
Once you understand the basics of it, you may not get the best yields, and you might not beat the market. They always say if 80% of hedge funds or whatever can't, I don't know if it's hedge funds, but investors can't beat the S&P 500, then what makes you think you can? And they have all that time on their hands. And it's as long as I'm moving in the positive direction, even if I'm losing to inflation, as long as I'm moving upwards, I still feel like that's a small win for me, and I don't take it as personally that I'm losing to inflation or whatever. I still feel positive about having what I get to hold on to, as not blowing it or wasting it or moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I don't know that, because Matt dabbles. We'll say that. You dabble with some financial stuff.
Yeah.
It's nothing illegal. We're not doing anything sketchy, but like
I
that's
wish. If I could get everyone in on a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, we're not doing that. But that being said, I feel like the message here is not that you need to do what Matt does, but what has been really helpful for us. And we recently hit a pretty significant savings goal that we had set, a year ago? Less than.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to us identifying what that goal was and how much needed to go in per month minimum to hit that goal, and then really pushing ourselves on the months where my business was doing better or you had additional paychecks or whatever going on too. Matt also side hustles, which I love about him too. But that being said, I think just having the right business and financial goals that you understand and you share with your partner to make sure you're both going in the same direction and you hold each other accountable too. So yeah, like what advice would you give to the everyday person listening to this who's either a business owner or married to one?
Well, I don't know anything about the business ownership part. That's all. I mean, you're talking about strategy and stuff and providing a good service and stuff like that. But like, for me, it's way easier just to go to work, get a paycheck after working, and then making sure that what goes out is less than what comes in.
Yeah.
And you can't predict emergencies. I mean, we've been pretty lucky over the last couple of years to not have any like big emergencies come.
Just a giant wedding that was not cheap.
Yeah, somebody wanted to get married, so we finally did that. And I've been tracking my personal finance, like net worth or whatever, on a Google sheet or Excel sheet or however you want to do it. But like, I've been tracking it there over the last 2 years, and it's pretty much gone up every single month for the last about 24 months, except for the 1 month where I had to buy a ring. But other than that, yeah, just small sustained progress, and it's easy to get discouraged, but if you see your numbers go up, you should take that as a hint that you're in the right direction, you're doing the right thing.
So why did you start tracking that 2 years ago? Like, did something happen? Were you just curious? What motivated you to track it?
I spent 4 years in school again, and it's almost like I went into a coma and then woke up 4 years later, and I was on the job hunt, graduated again, and then started looking for work, and looked around at all my friends and the people I hang out with and watched like the massive gains they made over a 3 or 4 year period where I not only was I not participating in it, I was actively working against myself by taking on student loan debt. And I just had to catch up, so I had to take it more seriously than other people. Because they say that the best like decade of your life for investing in compound growth for the long term happens from like, if you go to college, from the time you graduate, say 22 to 32, that money that you put in there, like in a Roth IRA or brokerage account or whatever, if you let it reinvest dividends and stuff over the next 40 years, compounds and grows more than every dollar you put in after it. So I hindered myself by using 4 of those years non-productively. And now it's going to take a lot more effort to get out of that, which is something I'm just trying to do best I can.
Do you think we would have made all the progress we have without tracking it and having our monthly money dates?
Well, as a couple, no. I feel like I might have been on the same trajectory because I set it for myself or whatever, and it's kind of a discipline thing more than a motivation thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't budget at all, but I just approach a lot of stuff as like being very tight. And I once heard this thing on some YouTube channel somewhere that like old rich people, they get more happiness out of knowing they could buy a Ferrari than actually going out and buying a Ferrari. And knowing that they can go out and basically do whatever they want is a peace of mind that I would say you can't buy, but you pretty much can by not buying and holding on and investing and moving and putting stuff in the right boxes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, not that it becomes addicting, but it makes it a lot easier to make decisions as a couple to transparently share this stuff. And I used to keep my business finances completely separate to where Matt had no idea. So on the months that were really good, I was like, let's go to dinner, not sweating paying for stuff or like wanting to buy you like little gifts or whatever every now and then. And then on the months that were really tight, I was cranky and shut down and anxious, and I wasn't communicating all of that. So I actually think in sharing some of my business numbers, I don't share like every P&L with Matt, but I do share a lot with him. Part of it is also because you look at finance the way that you do. So like you're an asset to my business, but I actually feel like it's made me more confident as a business owner. And also I think it's been better for our relationship, because on the months that are really good, we can celebrate together. And the months that are a little bit tighter, you're able to be compassionate and understanding why you might feel that way and provide some good perspective too.
Yeah, without saying that, you just notice the other person's cranky, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
So
that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair to either person really, because then just explaining that, you can alleviate some expectations that go along on your shoulders too, and then you just find something else to do. I gotta say, I saw the camera angle before we started, so I can't commit to that anymore. That was awkward. I hope I wore underwear.
You're fine. Yeah, I think in general that it's been really good for our relationship to share money stuff more transparently and also set goals together. And I actually think, I mean, there's no data to support it otherwise, but I feel like we've achieved things faster because we're more transparent and clear on that together, and we hold each other to it too. Like there's something we always say, it's like, that's not house buying behavior. So it catches that taco time if we're on date night or a happy hour and sharing something, because that's not house buying behavior otherwise. And we gamify it, we joke about it, but at the end of the day, I think it's what helps us get to that goal, which right now for us is to buy a home, but also we have different financial goals, savings wise. And I think ultimately we both want to get to a place where we do not need to work for income. We choose to maybe have a couple businesses because we like them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, speaking as a man, I think you need a purpose more than you need some job or title or whatever. Yeah. You need something to keep you awake. But what you just said about like moving, or like having us approach the goal the same way, think about it as like a two-person, say two people are in a car on...
Oh, I pictured a kayak.
I was gonna say that actually. A two-person kayak with one person rowing. You have one person carrying the weight of the whole kayak, but if you have two people in there, sure, it gets heavier with the second person, but now you have two people splitting the load of the kayak.
Yeah.
Or the other analogy I was gonna say also is like two people on a road trip. One person can drive for 12 hours. You can stop, pull over. The other person can drive while the other person sleeps. Like, when two people share the load, it just makes moving in the same direction where you want to go anyways easier.
Yeah. And I used to be good about, I would track my business finances. Like I always knew, again, kind of cash flow wise, what was going on in my business, but I wasn't so great personally. And then as Matt was sharing his personal, you specifically were tracking net worth, which was like, how much money are you making per paycheck? What investments did you have? What debt were you paying down? Like you tracked all of that. And in talking more with you, that caused me to check my stuff more, which was also really helpful to be like, okay, the business does well, I pay myself, but then I'm spending a little extra on my personal stuff at the expense of our future goals. And I wouldn't have identified that had I not talked that through with you. So if you're giving advice to someone listening to this who's married to an entrepreneur, what numbers do you feel like are for sure important to talk about as a couple?
The only number I care about is what goes into your personal bank account. So it's obviously not a business-minded statement, but the business can make or have a revenue of $100,000 a month, but if you have costs of $110,000 and you're in the red and you don't get to pay yourself that month or something like that, then you're moving in the wrong direction, and you're out there working, sure, but you're not, I guess, getting any of the fruits of your labor. So all I care about is what goes to your account, and then what you get to hold on to and put into something that grows for you in the future. So I rarely ever talk to you about your business P&Ls and stuff like that, but sometimes you'll give me numbers and I'll say like, well, what's this red here? What's this red amount here? What did you have to take this client to dinner or whatever, like.
Yes.
Right, but it's sometimes I'll do that, but what really matters to me is what you get to keep.
Yeah.
After the IRS takes its cut of your business, and then after the IRS takes its cut of what you keep, are you still moving in the right direction, or are you blowing $10,000? I don't know.
A mastermind in Canada.
Well, I don't know if I guess that's one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to say that because, and I'm not the only one, I know there's a lot of business owners, their identity is kind of wrapped into their revenue, because it is a big deal to be able to hit 6 figures in your business, to be able to hit $1 million in your business, it feels really good. But if you don't have those personal goals and awareness of what's happening personally, you're kind of just like shooting in the dark and hoping something works out, because we, as I've mentioned, are actively looking to buy a home. We're living with my parents, so the irony is we're making the most money we've ever made, and we're living in my childhood bedroom. We've also saved the most we ever have in my childhood bedroom. But that being said, like, a big piece of the puzzle is, if you want to buy a home, if you're listening to this episode and you want to buy a home or you want to finance something, they're going to look at your W-2. They're going to look at how much you're paying yourself. So sure, your business is making $1 million, but if you're salaried for 40 or 50, that's going to hinder what you qualify for. And that's something that we also had to strategize as a couple too. Like, how do I pay myself enough in my business to meet our needs and qualify for what we want? But also on the flip side, how do we make decisions based off things that we actually can afford and want to budget for versus what a piece of paper says we're able to buy for? So, I mean, what's your perspective on that? Because I think we handled this pretty intelligently.
Well, so I think there's only two ways to get rich in this world, and well, they both involve the government. The first is to
I'm scared.
First is to get a government contract for something. Nobody checks cash quite as well as the governments do, and the other option is to avoid paying taxes however you can, as legally as possible. In regards to like what you just talked about qualifying for a home or whatever, and your taxes for last year, our accountant talked to us about like whether or not we wanted to you wanted to depreciate something through your business that lowered your taxable income or whatever, and it showed that you made less money on paper, but at the end of the day it like saved you $800. So I don't think you should have to convince yourself or pay $800 extra in taxes just so you can convince a lender that you qualify for a house you otherwise wouldn't qualify for.
Yeah.
And I think that sets you up bad long term, and you're out $800.
Yeah.
$800 can go a long way. I mean, that's like a mild emergency that if you get to keep and the government doesn't legally, then you should take advantage of everything you can. I know we're in a unique situation where we're trying everything we can to get into a house and stuff, but I'm still taking advantage through my work compensation plan of like every tax advantage account that I can possibly do is done.
Yeah. Yep.
And then try not to throw everything away for now when I can save everything and do as much as I can today for a better future.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of sharing my financial situation, Matt sharing his, and tracking it. We track ours individually and together, and I think we wouldn't be able to be as strategic with our finances if we didn't have that conversation. But it allows us to talk about things like his work has an HSA, and so strategizing, does that make sense? Here's what that would mean. When we think of buying a home and paying for a mortgage and having those extra bills and responsibilities, can we afford that stuff? And I think when you're a business owner, we look at money from such a business place. I mean, first of all, a lot of people don't look at money in the first place, and they should. But those that do look at the business funds, but they neglect their personal funds and goals too. And honestly, in a nice way, you've helped me be more aware of that and prioritize that too. So I'm appreciative of it. And that's why I wanted to have this episode, because I think more people would benefit from just having those conversations with their partners in a very like genuine way, and making sure that you have aligned goals together and you have that clear communication. And it's not to say Matt's like, oh my God, every purchase you make in your business, I highly recommend, or every purchase I make, I shouldn't do. It's not like he's looking at every single bank statement. He doesn't know everything that I do in my business, but sharing enough to where he has awareness of what's going on and can support me and encourage me to help, hold me accountable and make sure that we're rowing the kayak in the same direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those listening to this episode, how would you go about having a money date? Like, what specific things do you think are important to talk through?
Every month I go through and look at every account that I have. So whether it's positive or negative, I take my like normal checking account, I tally that up in the checking section. I take up any brokerage account, and I look into even my retirement, like long-term retirement, that hopefully I won't touch until I
it's like a snapshot
at 59. But like,
yep.
If the market goes down, I should expect it to go down. That's fine. But I'm still making steady contributions through that because there's a company match and like a 401k and stuff like that. So 401k is 100% return on your investment immediately, even though you can't touch it for a while unless there's an emergency or something like that. But I tally up all my assets except for things like cars that I think are kind of depreciating
I'm
assets.
laughing because he doesn't have one, but
Well,
yes.
I don't have one because it was stolen, but and I kind of realized that I do want one, but I've gone so long without it that we can make do with one between us, and it's one of those things that you can kind of just. I would have thought that I could have gone this long without a car, but it's saving so much money on insurance, gas, and
payments, yeah.
And any payments if I wanted to buy something new that like it's actually a huge money saver, and it's helping us for the future. Yeah. I will get one probably by the end of the year, but it's just I would still count the car as not included in my overall package because it's something that's going to sit in the yard or driveway or whatever, depreciate every single day, every single mile that's added. And then if I decide to sell it and put that money back into a bank account or something like that, all of a sudden that's money again that I would count as. This isn't accounting advice. This isn't GAAP. This isn't generally accepted accounting, whatever.
Your engineering is showing, Matt. Keep it going.
All right. Well, I look at anything with any sort of stock or bond or anything, and I tally the whole thing up.
Credit card, loan.
Not necessarily cash. I mean, unless you're talking about
like
checking
account. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I don't look at my wallet every month and then see, even though I know how much money is in my wallet at all times, but I don't add that to that.
Yeah. It's such a basic thing, but it's so helpful, and it's just like it's like a financial snapshot. So anywhere that you have money or money is costing you, I feel like that's the place to look. And then that was a good move.
Yeah, I was trying to be
incognito.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It's fine. So Matt does that personally. We aim to do it like on the first. So he does this personally. In my business, here's what I do. I have a business checking. That's all my revenue. Everything funnels in through that. I have a business credit card. All my expenses run through that. I have a business savings. That's called taxes. I move a percentage of my profit into that account every month. I pay off my credit card every month. And then I calculate how much came in. I calculate what my costs were, how expensive my team was, and I run percentages. I pay myself. I'm on a salary now because we're trying to buy a home. And then I do an owner's draw as well. And so that's the stuff I do on the business side of things. And then something we recently started doing is I do the same thing that Matt does, but for personal. So that's me looking at my Roth IRA. I've had Microsoft stock since forever, so I look at that. And credit cards, bank accounts, all that stuff. So we really do like what's in the bank right now and what's in all these accounts. And that's the number that we each put into a spreadsheet. And then we do like a master one, like joint together. It's been really cool to see. Like I remember the moment that your net worth went into the positive and like how exciting that was. And when we had that savings goal together, like when we hit that number, how exciting that was too. And just to visually see it, because we track it consistently, is so cool. And then it motivates you to keep going and set that next goal for yourself personally, but as a couple as well. So yeah, I feel like that if you're listening, like my advice would be, if you're not looking at your individual numbers, do that. And then come together. So I do my business stuff, you do your personal, and then we come together and I share my personal and we plug it in, and then we do our joint numbers, and it's been really cool. And we do it at the end of every month or beginning of every month for the previous month, and it's been really powerful to share that together. I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that?
Sure.
Yeah, what more?
It's a good
thought.
Yeah. Positive.
Yeah, and just set goals together. Get clear on that. You have a lot of benefits through your work. That makes sense for the long run of goals that we have. And so that helps us. And then I have the ability to make more cash now. That also helps us in the short term. And I think I could see how if we didn't communicate these things and work together, I could see how people get resentful and confused and frustrated. And I think what works well with us is we communicate all of this stuff, and it truly feels like a team effort. And it's like, this is because of his job and what he does, what he can do, and because of my job and what I do, here's what I can do. And I think that's been really beneficial for us.
Yeah. We also handle like our investments and like savings for down payment, stuff like that, by basically you just hand it to me. And it's a certain level of trust that takes. So I don't know if I could do it the other way. I think I'm just such a control freak about numbers and making sure that they're going up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the username and password is easy enough for you to get.
Yeah.
And you could ask me what the number is on any given day, and I'll know to the dollar, maybe not the penny, but almost to the dollar what it is, and just tell you.
Yeah.
But that takes a certain level of trust for two people.
Yeah.
But you can also just do that on your own and not necessarily obsess over it, because that might cause problems mentally or whatever. But it's good to know as a general idea where you're at.
Yeah, I would say, well, for me, I don't want to micromanage it, so I'm happy to delegate that to you. And
Yeah.
also, you're better. People say I'm good with numbers, which I think is freaking hilarious, because I had to take Business 101 twice or whatever, finance.
Business.
No, it was calculus. It was the calculus class.
That's a huge difference.
The calculus. Anyways, I had to take it twice. I don't identify as being good with numbers, and you are wicked good with numbers, so I would rather you do it because you're better positioned.
I'm okay with numbers.
Okay, whatever.
I know people that are good with numbers. I'm okay with numbers.
You're okay with numbers, but it works for us. So, moral of the story, look at your numbers personally, get well acquainted with them, and then come together with your partner. I feel like there's no reason not to, right?
Yeah.
I have one last question. Do you feel like because I have a business, is it more beneficial that we do this, less, or it doesn't matter?
I think if you're married, you should just do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it would be just as important to sit down if one of us was a stay-at-home parent and only one of us was working or whatever, because just to know where you're at and making sure that you're both going in the same direction.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, I said one more, but I have one more other question. If someone's watching and they feel like they don't know where to start with finances, do you have any resources, books or podcasts or YouTubes or anything that you found helpful when you were figuring this stuff out?
Buy your car insurance 6 months at a time.
You said that on the last episode,
I know,
too.
I wanted to make sure I get that in there.
No, that's true.
Also, make a career online, and then you won't have to buy deodorant because you'll never have to deal with people, and you can save money on deodorant. I don't know if I should say the third one.
I'm nervous.
The long nail one?
No, you don't
Okay.
need to say that one.
Well, all right. What was the question before I derailed on that? Tips, resources.
Yeah, resources to learn about finances.
I mean, YouTube is huge,
Yeah.
and I listen to a lot of YouTubers. I don't know. I mean, I could tell you random things about something that you don't care about on random finance stuff, but I'm far from a CFP or a CFA or something like that can actually give real investing advice.
Yeah, I would add, if you're intimidated by finances and you don't know what's going on with yours, I would challenge you to figure it out. Even if you're working with a financial planner, I mean, we both have separate financial planners. We also have our own CPA. So we have professionals for things that require professionals, but we also want to know what's going on and be able to make informed decisions.
Wait, did you say I have a financial planner?
Yeah, technically.
I did.
Technically.
He's a great guy, but I do all my own now.
You could argue. Okay.
I've learned
The
I learned a
nuance
lot
does
from
not.
just-
The nuance doesn't matter.
I learned a lot from talking to him over the years, but
Sure.
I'm pretty much handling all my own stuff now.
That's fair to say.
But
The point is, I just think that even if you are using professionals to help facilitate some things, you should have a base understanding, and if you don't, seek it out. Honestly, YouTube is a huge resource.
I spend 20 hours a week listening to finance YouTube and stuff, and random, not necessarily trading stuff like day trading or swing trading or anything like that, but finance at large. So I am trying to figure out how to let you manage your portfolio. Still got to get that. And then,
Yeah, that might be our next money date conversation and strategy.
yeah, see how mine does for more than a year, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I need some testimonials before I move my money there.
Past success is not indicative of future success.
Yes,
It's all those disclaimers.
totally. In conclusion, though, go figure out your money stuff, set goals for yourself, share it with your partner, and hold each other to it. It can be really fun. And like Matt said, ours is on a simple Google sheet. It doesn't have to be some crazy tech or app or anything to support that. I think just documenting it and tracking it can go a long way. I know for your stuff, you have 2 years of doing this, and to see the graphs of everything is so cool. To see the growth and stuff too. So
Even when the graph went like this?
it was worth it.
Oh, well, I was talking about the personal investment,
Oh.
the brokerage account.
Well, you didn't tell that people.
Well, the everything still went up, but the brokerage account number went, whoop.
And this man wants to manage my money.
Yeah. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain to get back up to neutral.
Oh my gosh. You just overwhelmed the people. thank you so much for being on the podcast, Matt. Do you have any last money, Matt, parting words?
You can save money on toilet paper by jumping straight into the shower afterwards.
I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode especially entertaining, but also helpful, I'd love to hear it. Let us know in the comments. I really had to persuade Matt to come on, but truly, everyone really enjoyed your episode, and I just thank you for being a great partner. And I think as entrepreneurs, it's important to talk about like how that spills into your life, and you've done a great job being a really supportive husband. So I just want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome. It took some shrewd negotiation.
Yeah, 3 exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll catch you at the next episode.